Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy. Today we're comparing the TX to the RX to see which Lexus SUV you should buy. I'll include a link to the Larry Miller Lexus in Linden's inventory in the description down below. They're providing us with both these cars. I'll also include a link to my car buying guide. Let's get right into it. Under the hood of the TX is a turbo 2.4 liter 4-cylinder that goes through an 8-speed. Fuel economy is 20 around town, 26 on the highway, with power outputs being 275 horsepower and then 317 pound-feet of torque. Under the hood of the RX is the same exact turbo 2.4 liter 4-cylinder that goes through an 8-speed. Puts out the same amount of power, 275 for the horsepower, 317 for the torque. Fuel economy though is 21 around town, 28 on the highway, so it is slightly better, and that's because it's a smaller, lighter vehicle. Before we move forward with this comparison, I do want to mention if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Now the design on the TX with the hood is a little bit more rounded off when you compare it to the RX, which is a lot more angular. If you take a look at the headlights, you can see that theme continues. Look at the headlights here on the TX versus the RX that has much more angular headlights. And just like most modern Lexus cars, the grille is massive here on the TX. The RX grille is not any smaller, and it has an interesting design where it fades from being body painted to the metallic gray. Both of these cars do come equipped with fog lights. And then you can see from the front view that the TX is slightly taller than the RX. Now our tire wheel setup with the TX is 255 by 55 by 20. You've got silver there with the metallic gray in the center section of the wheel. Now with the RX, it's 235 by 50 by 21. You can see this wheel is all metallic gray, but yeah, you do have narrower tires, which that's also going to help out with fuel economy. Now both the RX and the TX have these body painted fender flares, and they actually have the same exact mirror caps. And both the RX and the TX have the electronic door handles. Now here's your side profile with the RX. This is where you guys can see the kind of more sleek, angular design. The RX definitely looks a lot sportier. And I think a big part of that is this tapered off roof here in the back. Whereas here with the TX, you guys can see that it's a lot boxier with the design, kind of more of a traditional SUV appearance. And a big part of that, again, is the rear here. Notice how it doesn't slope back so aggressively like the RX. This is one big benefit with the TX. You guys can see that we've got the third row up and we still have cargo space behind the third row. And the third row is power up and down. And then you'll note with the third row folded down, the TX has a massive amount of cargo space. This is pretty neat. The third row passengers get nice padding there in the back, and they got a little USB port as well. Now the cargo area of the RX is still very spacious. You'll note that the second row here with this RX is actually power fold up and down, which is a nice feature. One big downside here is no third row, and because of the slope design, you get a lot less vertical space. Now back over to the TX, we've got a sunshade here for the rear passengers and really nice trim all over the door panel. And the seats also continue that theme of having nice trim. There's plenty of space here in the second row. I also have a little storage pocket. I've got my own climate zone here in the rear and a couple of USB ports. And there is ventilation throughout the top here in the TX. And then headroom here in the second row is, I mean, it's not massive, but I do got a little bit of space. There's this button there on the top of the seat in the second row. You press that and then it pushes the seat forward so you can access the third row. The legroom here in the third row is definitely going to be a little bit more cramped. However, headroom back here is pretty darn good. Just like the TX, the RX has a sunshade here and you've got a lot of nice trim around the door panel. And by the way, we did have to switch cars. This one is no longer a premium, it's now a luxury that we have. You can get the luxury with the TX as well. It does give you fancier seats, as you can see. But let's compare the important stuff. So when it comes to legroom, it does have less legroom here in the RX. You can see the vents here in the center, and then this luxury package gives you heated and ventilated seats, which is pretty nice. And then the headroom also does feel a little bit more cramped. Now the front door panel of the TX, again, really nice trim all throughout. We also have all of our window controls here. The mirrors power fold in. And then you also have blind spot monitoring with the mirrors. Nice trim here with the front seats. They do have power adjustments. Got a little Lexus plaque there. And for those of you wondering the weight difference, so this has a GVWR of 6,100, 1245 for the payload. So this weighs less than 5,000 pounds, about, what, 4,900 pounds roughly? And this premium package does come with stuff like memory seats. Yes, this will now be a comparison with luxury versus premium. You can see the luxury trim here is a little bit nicer. Still have blind spot monitoring and still have power folding mirrors. And the seats have a lot of fancy suede trim all over them. Still have power adjustments. I guess that Lexus plaque is also pretty fancy looking. And then note, memory seats, power adjustable steering wheel, all of that. Now again, the RX does weigh less, so 4,600 pounds. So it looks like the TX on average are probably going to be about 300 to 400 pounds heavier. And we'll start up the TX here. That's a slow startup animation if I've ever seen one. Wow. So nice trim on the steering wheel with the TX here, even around the airbag cover. Looks pretty fancy. Practical controls for stuff like your adaptive cruise control and your lane centering. You also have those little paddles there in the back. And then we got practical controls for the center stack, volume, voice command controls too. This also comes with traditional stocks there in the back. Now you got this fancy pants digital gauge cluster here. You can change the theme of the gauge cluster, which I think is a really cool part of it, and then you can also customize what information is displayed. Like right now, fuel economy is displayed. Now this comes with a 360 camera system, really good resolution with it. And as for the infotainment system, the top section here is just a normal infotainment system. It's got a shortcut bar, and yes, the drive modes are built into the infotainment system. And one thing that's cool, the drive modes also change the gauge cluster, so like the sport mode makes it red and aggressive versus normal versus eco's kind of blue. At the bottom of the screen is all of your climate controls, so your heated, ventilated seats, dual zone climate. Part of the controls are built into the screen, part of them are with those little dials there, but it's all one unit. And then down below we've got our parking assist and then our shortcut button for the camera system, and then a bunch of USB ports. We also have this cool trick, so wireless phone charging pad, but then underneath is a little bit of extra storage. Movable cup holders right here. You've got your little shifter there behind it. And then a bunch of shortcut buttons right here for like hill descent control, for example. You've got like an off-road mode, auto stop start. The center console here I think is very unique with how that opens up. And then again, it's got nice trim here on the top. More nice trim all across the dash as well. And then we do have a panoramic sunroof up top. Well, let's start up the RX here. Ooh. Anyways, a big difference I noticed is actually the steering wheel. You have wood trim on the RX steering wheels. And it's just these little inserts, which, yeah, kind of interesting. You also note the controls here on the steering wheel are a little bit different. And that's because they control items here with the heads-up display. You actually use the heads-up display a lot with the RX. But they still have a digital gauge cluster down below that displays information that's also very customizable. We do still get the 360 camera system with this. And the rest of the infotainment system is all the same. Once you go down below, this looks a little bit different. Still have the USB ports and everything, but you just have the wireless phone charging pad inside of the cubby rather than being the kind of like top little lid to the cubby. Then this pretty much looks like a straight carryover. I mean, the button, how this is set up is a little bit different, but functionality is very similar. And then this is way different. We've got the center console that does the double flip there, and the trim in this Luxury feels different. Same thing on the dash as well. Luxury also gives you this, which is cool, camera rear view mirror. Got like a nicer headliner. And of course, panoramic sunroof. This TX stickers for about $64,000. The original RX that we had for the comparison was also a premium, and that one's stickered for about $59,000. So there is roughly a $5,000 price difference between the TX and the RX. Now the RX being the larger vehicle means that it's going to drive bigger, whereas the RX is going to be a little bit sportier, it's going to handle a little bit better. But you'll note the front wheels are lined up pretty well, the back wheels a little bit offset, and that's because the TX has a longer wheelbase. So the TX is going to provide you with a slightly better ride. And that's because with the RX, when you hit one bump, you'll hit it with the rear wheels sooner compared to the TX. So which of these two should you choose? When it comes to looks, I don't think that one wins over the other. I think that they both have good points and not so good points. And when it comes to tech and features, again, if you equip them similarly, they're going to have similar tech, similar features. They're from the same automaker. So it is going to come down to utility. If you don't need the space, if you're not going to be carrying around as many people, well, you're going to get better fuel economy with the RX, and you're going to have a slightly more nimble, slightly sportier drive because it is a smaller, lighter weight vehicle. Whereas with the TX, this is a larger vehicle with a third row. So if you need a third row, you're gonna want to go TX because you actually have some storage space behind the third row, and the third row is actually usable. You can fit adults back there and you can definitely fit kids back there. And so although this is more expensive than the RX, this is the people mover Lexus. And so if you're gonna be moving around people, then you're going to want to get the TX with its larger size, and again, it's more open cabin with the more boxy design. Hopefully that helps out. Let me know if you're going to go with the RX or with the TX.